growing up, I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to be in business. I just did not know what kind of business I wanted to be in.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why? Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today, I am here with Jason Malabute. Jason was born in Los Angeles, California. We just found out that we're actually not very far from each other as we speak. He's a seasoned real estate investor and active philanthropist, as well as a CPA. So, Jason, I'm going to stop there. There's a lot of impressive stuff here in your bio, but I want to let people hear your story from you in your words. So first, I'll just say thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for taking out the time on a Friday afternoon to start our weekend.
So, first of all, I want to say thank you, Jason, for having me on your platform. So, my name is Jason Malabute. I am born and raised here in Los Angeles, California. Let's address the elephant in the room. I grew up with cerebral palsy. However, I did not let that stop me from not only getting my CPA and my MBA, but also eventually being a real estate investor and being a partner with over 342 units across two properties. So that's a very quick summary of my story, Jason.
Yeah, a very quick summary. I'm sure there was a lot of work that went into that. A lot more work than it took to tell in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
When you got your MBA, how did that sort of start out? How did your career start out, and then how did you transition that into a real estate career, real estate investor?
Great question. So I remember when I was a kid, my dad did a great job of just getting me ready for the real world. He told me, son, I know that you like the finest things in life. However, you're going to have a harder time finding a high paying job compared to your peers because of your disability. So he always pushed me towards entrepreneurship. And then growing up, I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to be in business. I just did not know what kind of business I wanted to be in. So I got to college. I had no idea what I wanted to be because back in middle school and high school, I was convinced that I was going to be the first professional basketball player with a disability. Even though I was a terrible basketball player, but I took that same, mentality and I applied it to business. However, like when I got into college, I didn't know what I wanted to take. So my mom said, "Why don't you be an accountant so that people cannot fool you out of your money and you know how money works?" So I said, "You know what? I mean, I have I don't have a better idea, so why not be an accountant? So I finished my accounting degree. Um, After finishing my accounting degree, I took I took the MBA course, finished that, then I focused on my CPA exam. Then after I became a licensed CPA, I started working at a firm here in Los Angeles. Then one day I was preparing one of my clients' tax returns, and I noticed that he was making a lot of passive income from his properties without him doing anything. And I said, now this, Jason, looks like a pretty interesting business. So I went into the rabbit hole of just researching real estate. How does real estate work? How do you make money from real estate? So I must have read every single post on Bigger Pockets. I watched all their podcasts. And then in 2019, 1 year after, that's when I started to buy single family homes out in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was doing both a buy and hold strategy, and also I was doing a BRRRR method as well, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And then from there, I transitioned to multifamily.
I think that piece of advice from your mom was actually outstanding and probably could apply to a lot of us in terms of having a better understanding of our money so that someone can't take that away from us without us knowing what's going on. So phenomenal feedback from her, I think, which makes total sense. So you started with single family investing, and you started investing long distance, right? If you're investing in Indianapolis, we could probably do an entire discussion on good or bad on investing in Los Angeles. But regardless, I think kind of people tend to say don't invest here. So I think the people tend to, even if you live here, maybe invest out of state. But also I think that's kind of a daunting proposition, whether it's single family or multifamily, sometimes for people getting started. Jason, how did you kind of wrap your head around that? What steps did you take to kind of start that process? And what made you pick Indianapolis? That's probably another, you can roll that in there.
Yeah, so I remember when I first started, I actually was started looking here in Los Angeles. Now, when I was looking here in Los Angeles, I had no idea how real estate worked, so I didn't understand it. However, just like what you said, I've been hearing like why you shouldn't invest here in Los Angeles, and it made sense. It's tenant friendly. Prices is too much, so then the returns are lower. So the first market that I started looking into outside of Los Angeles was Orlando, Florida. And I actually built a whole team there by myself. I scouted for brokers, I scouted for property managers, contractors, handymen, a whole bunch of vendors. And then I flew out there. I was looking at duplexes, single family homes, and nothing made sense. So I came back empty handed. And then I went to YouTube and I said, and I searched best cash flowing markets in the country, and at the time, Indianapolis came up. So I was already somewhat familiar with Indianapolis because my little brother uh, is living in Indianapolis. So I was just there. So so I redid the whole process. I built my team of brokers, vendors, property managers, and then that's when I started to actually take action and started buying properties because I knew that books can only take you so far, and you will only learn once you start taking action. So that's why I was using my own money at first because I knew that I was going to be making a lot of mistakes, which I did. So I bought a portfolio of single family homes in Indianapolis. I learned a lot. And then what made me transition from a single family to multi-family is when I noticed that when I was doing the BRRRR method, which again stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, my money was stuck in this property for about 7 months, and I said, wow, I'm spending 7 months on just one door. And I said, time, time is our most valuable commodity because we don't know how much of it we have left. So instead of spending 7 months on one door, what if I spent 7 months on 10 doors, 100 doors, 500 doors? So that's when I got pushed into multi-family. And then I always tell people that the biggest key takeaway from my journey is that if you want to excel in industry, get yourself a mentor because a mentor will get you to where you want to be much more quickly.
Yeah, there's so much there, Jason. That's I've actually I've heard a lot of people talk about sort of the idea of transitioning from single family to multifamily. I've never heard anyone put it that way, that it's about the time spent, right? Like people talk about efficiencies of scale and all of that stuff, but that's a phenomenal point, and it kind of I yeah, it really struck me. I mean, just say what you're spending 7 months on one door, and you could spend 7 months on 100 doors or 500 doors. It takes longer usually to close a multifamily property than single family, but at the same time, like what you have once you've closed is substantially bigger. I don't know. There's probably a better word, but just bigger. Better scale. So that point I love. That something for people to really take note of there. And you mentioned mentorship, which has been really important for me, really very instrumental in my journey into commercial real estate. When did you decide to get a mentor? What path did you go down?
Yeah, so I was actually, how many? One, two, three, four. I was a part of like four different mentorships before I got my first deal. And what separates my success from other people's successes, I feel like people make a mistake of getting mentors who are no longer active in the market, meaning you get a mentor who was buying back in 2010, 11, 12, and what they teach you is only relevant back then. It's no longer relevant today. So, so luckily for me, I was able to have mentors like Sterling White, who taught me like the mindset of how to be a real estate investor, how to be an entrepreneur. I was mentored by David Monroe, which is an amazing mentor. He'll teach you how to study markets, how to know if you're investing in a good market or a bad market, how to predict how your market will react in a recession. People like Charles Seaman, who is my partner now, he's somebody who was actually buying and selling properties in the current market, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. He's active in the market, so he can teach me things that's actually relevant in today's market. And then lastly, I know that a lot of people don't like Grant Cardone, but I learned a lot from Grant as well when it comes to sales and marketing myself. He's another person that I like to consider as a mentor.
Yeah, it's so important. I've talked about it a lot on the podcast. I did my 200th episode was with my mentors. I specifically brought them on for that. I think it's so huge. I think it really helps. And I like how you kind of pointed out that each of your mentors have maybe a strength. They taught you a specific skill, which is a great way to approach it, because I think especially as people have success and excel in the real estate and as an entrepreneur, most people find their lane and they get really, really good at doing something in that lane, and they know all of the pieces, but they have their kind of specialties, and they partner up with people that have complementary strengths. I know Charles was actually one of the early guests on my podcast. I can't remember exactly what number, but I mean, I think in the maybe teens, like he was on very early on. So I'm very grateful that he gave me a shot. I know I'm not sure if he's still doing his underwriting. But yeah, like I went on some of his underwriting calls. He's great. I think, Grant Cardone, I think he generates strong opinions, and I understand why, but I do think whether you like him or don't, maybe as a person, there are things to be learned there for sure. And I think in a lot of ways, marketing and mindset are big strengths of his. So I think if you can approach mentorship and education in like learning business from a space of just like completely non-judgmental, but just totally practical. Like, what can I take? What can I learn from each of these people? Putting personality or personal beliefs aside, what can I learn in these scenarios? You can do a lot to really excel and shorten your learning curve by taking those steps. So I love that you said that, and thank you for kind of giving them all their credit, because I think a lot of times people, oh yeah, I did a mentorship, and for whatever reason we don't talk about it. I'm not sure I understand that. We don't talk about who the mentor was and whatnot, but very, very cool that played such a big role for you. What do you, we talked about kind of the different lanes, and there tend to be different lanes within, multifamily syndication. What do you feel are your strengths, Jason? Where do you see yourself kind of sitting, your superpower, if you will?
I think my superpower is something that I've always had ever since I was a kid, which is I don't think that I'm the smartest person. I don't think that I'm the most, savvy. I don't think that I have the most money. Definitely not the most money part. But something that I will beat every single person. I don't care who it is, but nobody can match my determination. And let me let me show you guys what I mean by that. I first had the idea of I want to transition from a single family to multi-family back in 2020. And from 2020 to May of this year, I failed. I failed terribly. I could not find a deal to save my life because the market was so competitive. People were paying ridiculous amounts of money for real estate, especially in 2020 and 2021. So that means holiday seasons, birthdays. I was working every single day from 2020 to September of 2023. I did not take a single day off. It didn't matter if it was Christmas. It didn't matter if I had COVID. It did not matter if I sprained my foot at the gym. I was working every single day because I had a vision in my head of the person that I wanted to be. And I was working every single day to be that person. And then I remember the hardest times mentally during those 3 years was I every time that I saw my family for the holiday season, they would ask me how is the real estate business going, and that it would kill me every single time that I had to tell them that I'm still looking for a deal, knowing that I was nowhere close to closing on the deal. That was tough, but I kept on pushing. And then every time that I went on social media, and then I see people closing on the deal, people that I know that I've been working harder than them, close on deals, and I'm empty-handed. So that was tough, but I kept on pushing. And then I kept on pushing until I proved myself to myself. I proved myself to 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 God that I really wanted this. And then this year, I became a general partner on 2 deals, 342 units in 1 year.
That's amazing. Mamba mentality. I can see your Kobe jersey behind you. So
Yes.
you've got Mamba mentality. Some of the stuff you talked about, I think, is just so important for people, especially people that are starting out, to really understand your story of it taking that long to get a deal is not uncommon, especially right now, right? Because we went through some years where it was just like insanely competitive, pricing was up, things. It was just like to get a deal, you almost had to like get lucky because it was so competitive. And now the market, the last year the market's gone to a bit of a standstill, a stalemate. I mean, deals are still happening, but it's slowed down a lot. And so for people that are new to the business and trying to navigate this market that went from like huge up to pretty low down, you can call it recession or not, whatever, but like a dramatic swing, and so both sides of that pendulum are hard to get deals done on, right? Like you kind of want to be somewhere in the middle of where it was in 2021 and where it is now, and it's so people shouldn't be discouraged that it takes that long. I think, we talked a little bit about your the idea of it being 7 months to close a single family house or get your your BRRRR strategy completed, or it taking 7 months to buy a couple hundred unit apartment complex. Yes. The reality is I think one of the reasons why sometimes people like choose residential single family is it's faster to transact. And so you have that kind of like repeated success, right? You're like, I bought another one, I bought another one, I bought another one. But in multifamily, like you hear about people that flip houses and they might flip 50 or 100 in a year. In multifamily, if you do 4 or 5 deals in a year, that's a pretty good deal. Like that's a pretty good year in terms of transaction volume. So your expectations of how hard you're going to work for the wins, you have to adjust what you think about, because the win is really after you close the transaction. It's implementing your business plan, managing the asset, and getting to the point where it's a stabilized asset that's cash flowing, or you're able to exit it and make your investors money. Like that's when the win happens, which is like years later. So it's not it's just you have to understand that it's a long-term play, and long-term means years, like probably 3, 5, sometimes 10 years, and it's just that's where real wealth is built in real estate. It's over time. So I love that you pointed that out and kind of talked about the work that you had to put in, the drive that you showed, the persistence, and I'm sure you haven't stopped. I'm sure you didn't just close those deals and say, good, done here. Like there's plenty more work that comes after. So it's an important thing for people to understand, if they're looking to get in and be an active real estate investor. So you close these deals in the last year. Things are going well. Happy
Yes.
with how the assets are performing?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good. And what do you kind of see as on the horizon for you? What's your plan going forward? Just more of the same, or you have an idea, more goals added to the list?
Of course. I mean, my ultimate goal, Jason, which is something that I write down every single morning when I wake up and before I go to sleep, is my ultimate goal is to own um, 10,000 units have 144 million invested in real estate because if you multiply 144 million by 7%, that means I'll be making $10 million of passive income every single year. So that's my goal in the 2024, 2025. I'm pretty sure that you feel the same way. We're both salivating on the opportunity that's coming when it comes to multifamily because a lot of the bridge loans are coming due. People are scared. There's a lot of uncertainty. Cap rates are decompressing. So those are all opportunities that we can really capitalize and really set ourselves up for 5 years, 10 years from now,
Yeah, and it's, you mentioned that conversion of money invested to passive cash flow, and it's certainly a what do people call it, big hairy audacious goal. That's a lot of money in passive income. It can happen. It can happen for sure. That's an amazing goal to have. But I think the point to look at here is because I have kind of the same philosophy. Is I want to get enough invested, because you're talking about essentially passive invested, right? Like that's like the amount of money that you have that's just working for you. And so the other thing about that is if you have $144 million invested and you're getting $10 million a year in cash flow, well, guess what? That doubles about every 5 or 7 years. So you get to that point, and then in, say, 7 years, you've got $20 million of passive cash flow coming in. Like things that, and you can move that number, you can move decimal points in one direction to make it more palatable for yourself, or you can aim higher and move the decimal point. It doesn't matter. The point is that the number that you set for yourself that's the beauty of real estate, is like, okay, I want to get to this certain point because I have a point I want to get to that I want to have passively invested as fast as possible, because I know that money's doubling every 5 years. So the sooner I get to the point where I've got enough invested that it's in those doubling cycles, the faster that's going to get bigger. So it is something that I think is such a great point for people to, again, it doesn't matter the number, that the point is get started. The point is you need to get started to have that growth happen.
Yeah. And I always tell people, always invest in yourself first, because I don't care if you invest in real estate, Bitcoin, stocks, businesses. All those investments have an inherent risk. The only investment that does not have a risk is when you invest in yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I would even add, investing in yourself should, in theory, decrease the risks of those other investments, because you're gaining knowledge and experience. So it's a great point. Jason, I want to just kind of switch gears here and talk about or ask you the questions that I ask every guest. And the first one is based on the name of the show being Know Your Why. I always want to kind of dig into every guest's why and what's driving you. You do have some big goals, and I love that. What pushes you forward? So nobody has more determination than you. What's driving that?
Two things driving that. first thing that's driving that is that I'm thankful. I'm thankful for all the opportunities that 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 God has given me, that my parents has given me. I'm thankful for the people who believed in me, and I never want to squander those opportunities. I want to make the best of those opportunities. And then the second thing that drives me every single day is when I think of all of the people who doubted me before, who thought that I wasn't going to be anything. Now you're going to see how wrong you were, and I'm going to shove it in your face of how wrong you were.
Yeah. So, success is the best revenge that there is, I guess. People that don't believe in you. No, I love it. Yeah. I guess we're just meeting now, but I have no reason to doubt that you will continue to grow your success. I think it's really impressive to see what you've done in a short period of time. So I think time matters, or time matters. The expectation is that it takes time to build wealth, but that doesn't mean you should approach it with any less tenacity. So I think that's you're showing both of those things, Jason. I think that's amazing. Tell us something about yourself that isn't common knowledge. Special skill, a hobby, anything that you're comfortable sharing.
Something that most people don't know about me is I think a lot of people think that I'm like a super confident, I'm an extrovert type of guy, but I actually had to force myself to be like this because naturally I'm very shy and I would rather keep to myself. So all of the traits that I have is traits that I had to develop, things that I learned from a lot of reading books. I'm a big nerd. I love to read books. I love to watch podcasts. And yeah.
Awesome. When people hear this and they want to reach out to you, what's the best place?
The best place to reach out to me is through my either to my website, which is at jasonmalamuti.com. I'm also on all social media platforms at Jason Malamuti. And also, people can reach out to me via email, jason@cashflowchamps.com.
Okay, perfect. We'll put that stuff in the show notes. My final question for you, Jason, is what piece of advice would you give to someone who is looking to get started in real estate and you're trying to, kind of inspire them, or your story inspires them? What would you tell them as kind of these next steps to take?
Yeah, join a mentorship program. Of course, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to plug in our mentorship program because I feel like it's one of a kind. For example, we'll let you tour our properties. You'll be there for due diligence so that you will see what an actual due diligence looks like. You'll be required to sit in on asset management calls so that you can see how a property is operated, what kind of what kind of KPIs we track on our asset management goals, and then once you finish the certification program, you'll actually be considered to be a general partner on our next deal. So if you are able to join a mentorship program like that, you'll probably not take 3 years like how I did. You'll probably get to where I am in 6 months, 12 months from now. So that's why mentorship is so important.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's for people listening. That's a great opportunity to get the chance to be a part of that general partnership once you complete that mentorship program. So fantastic. Well, Jason, thank you for taking the time out this afternoon to tell us your story. Tell me, I really enjoyed this. So I appreciate all of the value that you've brought to the listeners. I think the piece about determination and just that amount of time that you just kept working to get that deal done is so inspiring. So thank you again for taking the time out and sharing your story with us today.
Yes, and thank you again, Jason. And since we both know now that we are neighbors, we gotta go grab a drink sometime.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't realize we were so close together. So yeah, definitely need to get together. For folks listening, I know you're going to get a ton of value out of this episode. Please like, rate, and review the show so we can get more great guests like Jason. And thank you so much for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?